used to just literally walk into studio with, you know,
Yeah.
could be pajamas,
Yeah.
for instance. People wouldn't know.
We keep our radio faces.
Exactly.
And
you know.
now.
So now it's changed. People see the faces and they connect to not only the faces but the voices as well.
Yeah.
How do we maintain that in the sense that giving a professional delivery, a professional message, or a professional telling of these different stories?
Yeah. Look, with the now, it's now audio and it's now visual. We need to be aware as well. When it's visual, there are different platforms where the people will consume that story. For instance, it could be on YouTube, and there's a different type of audience. It could be on TikTok. So this conversation of ours now, if I say something explosive and then you cut it quickly and you put it on TikTok, and people want to join this conversation. And so this is how these are the platforms that are now there, and you can reach different different audiences that consume different media based on their age, based on their resources that they have to consume the media.
Yeah.
For instance, somebody who's driving, they'll still be on audio, just audio, and they'll be satisfied with that. But somebody who's at home, bored, and just searching through content, they could be on YouTube and bump into us here discussing what we have here. So what we need to do now is that as those people who convey those stories, we need to, of course, be aware that now there's a camera in front of us, and therefore present not just for audio, or present our stories not just for audio, but also be aware of the fact that now we are on video, and therefore there's a certain level of professionalism that goes with that, that goes with being on visuals.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, it's a very interesting time because as well, when we tell the stories on different platforms, whether it's radio, digital, audio, and so on. Now we have to also think of the fact that there are also young people who are also consuming these stories, whether it is age appropriate or not.
Yeah.
How do we balance those scales? How do we work around those issues? Because I can tell you now, parents are finding it difficult to sort of tell their children that, listen, this is not for your consumption, because at some point in time they do get access to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think well, there's the idea that, for instance, Channel Africa, there's the BCCAA, you guys are always aware of what to put on air. But then there are obviously stories that are still too sensitive for the kids and age appropriate for the kids. And I think that things like disclaimers at the beginning of a broadcast, hey, we're going to have so and so, if you're a parent, just be aware of the fact that this conversation is going to be a little bit hard-hitting on the adult issues that the adults face, as opposed to just going into the story and now the parent is finding the kid, you know, focused on this story where they are talking about something that they shouldn't hear about at that age, because they won't be able to process it in the way that they should process it. So I think that us as broadcasters, we should bear that in mind, that, well, this platform is now accessible on TikTok, and what we say and what we put on TikTok must bear that in mind. And I think there's the safety nets, that is the BCCA say that we don't say bad things anyways, but there's also the fact that we discuss real issues, and some of them are not appropriate for the kids. So it is up to us how we present those stories. Even in discussing that, if you have in mind the idea that there could be a child that is watching and so on, so the language that you use in the process, in the discussion, you cover it, because you are aware that every adult who's listening will be able to process this the way that they should. But if there's a kid, they'll be, what are they talking about? Exactly. They're boring me. You know? Yeah.
Or want more information and too much detail on that. All right. Yeah. So now, Trans World Radio and the work that you do, what are you finding in terms of the evolution of what we're all experiencing, whether radio now is accessible in all forms, and digital space, or visual? It's exciting, but at the same time, it's a bit daunting.
Yeah. So what some of the things that I've found is that as a radio station, you may have an audience that you have, and but you have another audience that you want to reach.
Yes.
And now, how do you then reach that audience? So, for instance, somebody was saying earlier in the convention that we have an audience that is just wants to listen to the radio that is actually on their way out. We are old and we are on our way out. It's old people. And there's young people who want the same content. They want to understand the same things that we're talking about, but we're not where they are, right? We are not broadcasting where they spend their time. So at Transworld Radio, we've decided that we want to be driven by audience in terms of what platforms we're using, in terms of what content we're putting out there. Let's find out where are the people and then go there. So if the people are now on listening via YouTube streaming, for whatever reason they're on YouTube streaming, then why not put that? Put our audio also on YouTube. And if people now want to view, or if there are things that we feel this topic must definitely reach the young people because it's going to be helpful, it's going to contribute meaningfully in their lives. Therefore, we need to package it on video and maybe on TikTok, maybe on, they say Facebook is no longer for young people, but, put it where the young people are, where the audience actually is. So we are grappling with that at Transworld Radio right now with our various stations across the continent.
And what is the takeaway from this convention?
Yeah. So I think the takeaway is that we can learn from each other. Some people, with all the experts coming from across the continent and dealing with different audiences and broadcasting different genres of content, we can learn from each other because then you find somebody who's doing what you do, but they're doing it differently. And hey, tell me, how did you get to this, and how does it benefit you? So that is one of the nicest things about being here, is that you discover people who have encountered the problems that you're in now, and they can help you, or this discussion can lead to a solution for yourself, or you can share something as well with somebody else that needs a little bit of your experience, because they're also grappling with, especially with the changes, with AI coming in, and now how do we navigate? We had a long talk on AI, how to use AI and how other channels around the world are using it, and we're like, wow. So what about authenticity and all that?
I was going to come back to the authenticity, because it's very tricky where you consume some news update and only to find that it comes out later that it's actually AI. How do we work around that? Look, that's a very tricky one.
It's a tricky one, and I think we're still going to be grappling as media houses. We're still going to be grappling with that a lot, because you're going to have somebody who only has a snippet of, say, a tweet. They take a tweet. They were talking about taking tweets and putting it into that person's voice and so on. So I'm like, wait, did he say that or did he write that? And if he sees himself or hears himself saying that, he's like, wait, who was I talking to when I said that?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, somebody did that on AI or whatever. We have those challenges going forward, and how to navigate that and how to regulate that is going to be an interesting one.
Very interesting time. Thulani, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been great. That's Thulani Mdletshe, a Regional Content Director at Transworld Radio, joining us here live at